Hi, everyone. Good morning. I am Stacy Martin with the Martin DreamToHOME Team at Keller Williams Realty, and we're so excited today for our coffee and real estate scoop with Stacy and our special guest, Donna Seeker, and she's the owner of Donofrio and Associates LLC. Welcome, Donna. How are you today?
I'm happy to be here. Thank you so very much, Stacy.
You're welcome. Thanks for being our special guest. We are excited to hear about the home inspection industry for our clients, and I know it's one of the really big steps as you move through the cycle of the home buying process. And you know, coming through and seeing it with your own eyes is one thing. Getting the opinion of your professional real estate realtor is also very important, but there's nothing like having your inspector there to be your detective and get into the nitty-gritty about everything from, you know, roof to basement, you know, sump pump type of thing. So we're so excited to hear from you about you first, and then a little bit more about the process. So tell us about you and how you all started your business.
Well, you described that so perfectly, that because I've worked as a realtor before, and that not only is the home inspection a milestone, you know, going down the list of things that have to be completed, but you're right. It's like, this is what I see, but what does someone see that's looking at systems and all that? But actually, my now husband started the business in 2001. Ed Donofrio is a graduate of the Naval Academy, and those credentials allow him to conduct commercial inspections, which is actually where he started. He had sold a few businesses that designed and built HVAC systems for commercial buildings. That sold. He had some time on his hands. His friend said, come do some inspections for me, commercial inspections. Mm-hmm. That led to him getting a certification for residential. And now in 2020, we have a staff of 24, which includes 12 inspectors that offer inspections every day of the week in DC, Maryland, Virginia, a little bit of West Virginia. And then commercial inspections are still part of the business, and those can happen anywhere in the country. And I'm not just saying that. Ed has traveled out to St. Louis for commercial properties, and then more routinely down to Richmond or over to Baltimore, which, you know, is really just part of our larger metropolitan area, but exactly. We don't go back for those at all.
Exactly. Well, that's wonderful to have such a scope of where you're willing to go, just really there to serve your clients. That's great. So
our client being you, the realtor, as a matter of fact, because your clients, hopefully your buyers, will remember us in the future when they're upgrading or downsizing, whichever it may be, but that's going to be maybe 5 years from now. Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, how many other people are you, Stacy and Ed, going to work with? And we want to help you with those folks too, because we've developed a relationship.
Right, exactly. So in your words, tell us a little bit more about why the inspection is important and what you all do that's probably, you know, potentially different from other companies.
Our report is very thorough and laid out in an easy to read and understand fashion, because again, these are things that not everyone's expert in, because we all have our own things that we've studied and do day to day. So the report will go through each major system, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, and it will list out everything that's in that section, whether it be acceptable, marginal, or defective. The marginal and defective items are listed in a summary page that's separate, so it's easy to refer to when you're in the negotiation process. Mm-hmm. But apart from that, in the meantime, you get a serial number and model number of your HVAC, your hot water heater, and that helps you, the homeowner, to know how to plan, how to budget. Mm-hmm. You know, right now, our hot water heater is 5 years old. They're designed to last 10 to 12 years. So, okay, we really don't have to budget for that right away. Likewise for the HVAC. Roofs are always a big concern. They do not come with a serial number or a model number, but the inspector can make a good judgment by the condition of it and also by the age of the home.
Mm-hmm.
So, so it's a very good reference manual, our report, and there are photos in it.
Mm-hmm.
And the photos will either even have little arrows pointing to specific items. If there's a deck and some woodwork, is maybe a little, maybe the posts are starting to deteriorate a little bit, you know, there's going to be an arrow pointing to that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're good for this summer, but maybe by next summer you should think about that. Or for example, that may not be the best example, but it's a good manual to what you're buying, not just a negotiation tool, even though it is that as well.
And a manual to keep throughout your home ownership, to go back and to
Absolutely.
reference, you know, what was it then? And maybe if you're having trouble with the system, to say, well, what did they say before? And what was the serial number? Maybe I can't find it. I don't know where to look for it, that type of thing. So do you go through the same process when you're doing a commercial inspection?
Commercial inspections are different because for the home inspection, we're checking like the door rubbing in the frame, or there's like 8 different parts to a window that are checked. Does it latch properly? Does it lock? Does it stay up? Is the counterbalance intact, or is it broken? And on and on. With a commercial building, you're going to do the major systems. You're not going to do doors rubbing in the frame, or you can't open and close windows, right? Typically. Okay. So no, it is different. It is different. And the whole process is different too. But
Sure. Well, I know you serve both, and we certainly on our team serve both residential and commercial. So we always want to include, you know, all of our types of clients so that we, you know, can share with them what they need to be prepared for when it's their turn. So, but what are some of the guidelines that you all are taking now that we have COVID-19 in play? Are you doing regular home inspections, or are you doing them via like a video, or what's happening?
One thing I should add though about the commercial inspections before we move on, I apologize, is that we do offer the phase 1 environmental assessment. So when you're buying a home, a residential property, if you're getting a loan from the bank, they're going to require a wood destroying organism, termite inspection, right? Sure. So for the bank to give a commercial entity a loan to purchase a building, they need that phase 1 environmental assessment. And so we offer both of those. But yes, today we're in 2020 with the pandemic, coronavirus, COVID-19, and straight away, InterNACHI, whose guidelines we follow, formulated a certification for inspectors so that both they and the clients are protected. Different, not just the masks and gloves and foot gear, shoe coverings, but beyond that, things to look for to know if somebody maybe isn't feeling well and how to respond to that. So it was, and I do have those guidelines if anyone's that interested, but we right away had each inspector earn that certification so that they're protected and you're protected and your client is protected. But moreover, you want to ask a question?
No, I was going to comment that I've had the benefit of being at 2 of Ed's commercial inspections since COVID started, and I can attest.
Yay.
You know, we both were there following guidelines, and so Ed takes due care. My assumption is the whole company does. So just giving it a station.
It's very important for us that having so many inspectors, 12 at this point, that everything is consistent, whether it's wearing masks or the reporting system, I mean, down to the comments throughout the report. But like you were mentioning earlier, Stacy, you're working with some clients out of town. Well, we've done that all along. You have, we have. Sure. And one of our inspectors said, oh, this is, you know, we're in this situation. People don't want to attend the home inspection. That's nothing different than what we've done before. Sure. I, the inspector, can be in the property, and you, the realtor, if you choose to be there, you can follow me with your phone, your iPad, and the buyer can be connected wherever they are and feel like they're part of the process.
Right, right.
If the realtor doesn't care to be there either, totally respect anyone's choice, wishes, then the inspector would conduct the inspection, contact the realtor and hopefully the buyer too at the end, go over the summary page, and again, walk over with the phone or iPad to say, this is what I'm seeing, this is why I'm making this comment, you know, if the other folks have a question, or if they just have a question that they wanted the inspector's answer to, besides from what's on the summary page. So there's many choices. Again, respecting people's wishes, you know, because what was funny to me reaching out to realtors was at first it was like, oh, you can do that? Sure, we've done it before, we can do it now, and we're ready. It's, you know, then it flipped because I guess a lot of companies were saying you can't be there, only the inspector can be there. Oh, wow. And we're like, no, it's your inspection, you know, you will do it your way, but of course we're going to follow procedures and protocols to keep everyone safe.
Right, exactly, good. Tell us a little bit about how we schedule inspections and how long inspections take, just for those people who are getting ready to maybe buy their first home and they don't know how they go about it.
The realtor or your buyer is welcome to call our office. We do have people local, live, taking those calls during, you know, from 8 to 5, 8 to 6, whatever it is. Sorry, I should be more clear about that, but I'm not. At any rate, so that person will walk you through the entire process, the day, the time, every single cost, because actually our transaction coordinator will look up the property on the computer and say, oh, this is built in this time and it's this many square feet with a detached garage. Did you want that inspected? You know, because we don't always think about these things, especially in Western Loudoun County, there can be all those different outbuildings, you know, and some matter, some don't. So it's a very thorough process is what I'm trying to say, in that when that call is finished, there should be no questions. Everything should be answered down to the cost if you want add-on, radon, indoor air quality, mold screening, any add-on products. At that point, a series of emails are generated to the realtor, to the buyer, to the selling realtor, the listing agent, because they have to know too, and especially if a radon is being placed, because we actually have 2 people that whose job it is to place and retrieve radon machines. So that's all that can hopefully be done before, so that when the inspection is finished, all the information is available. So that, and I think that, and beyond that, we do have an after hours call service. And I think that can complete the process too, very close. If it's not 100%, it's 99.9. And thirdly, we have online scheduling. That does not complete the process, but it's, you know, if it's midnight and you just can't get another phone call, at least you can initiate it. And in the morning, you'll get a call back. Usually, I think with a dozen inspectors, you can probably get a time, an appointment as early as 2 days from when you initiate the call. But of course, it can be when you want it. If you want it next Tuesday, you know, then talk about that too. But the inspection itself, the inspector stays in a very set routine so that they're efficient. And that doesn't mean that they won't entertain your questions or allow the buyer to shadow them. Those things are welcome. But if your buyer wants to know about the hot water heater in the basement and the inspector's outside, the inspector is going to say, that's a great question. I want to answer that for you to the best of my ability, but we're going to do that when I'm inside. So just please remember that question. And in the meantime, if you want to walk around the outside with me, you're welcome to, and I'll point out what I see.
Right.
But all in all, I would allow 3 hours because of course it depends on the size of the property.
Sure, sure. How long does it take to get the report back?
The report is emailed to you and your client at the end of the inspection.
Great.
So before you walk away, it's in your email.
Very convenient. That's great. Great. So the add-on things like the radon, let's say, for example, that's a very common add-on. What does that run? Is it the same for every house or does that vary?
No, that's a standard price with an inspection. I think it's a higher cost if it's a standalone. Once in a while, people need a standalone.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, a lot of times people will purchase a brand new home and they don't do a radon, a new construction. And they don't do a radon then because the doors and windows have all been open for weeks and weeks and weeks. And so they typically suggest waiting several months, maybe 6 to 12 months. So the house is closed up and you're using it like normal use. And then once that time has passed, then hire the inspector to come do a radon test, because then you have a true reading. If you do it before, it's like the doors have been open for days and days. It's like not valid. So you need some time to trap the gas if it's there.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. So what else is interesting and different about the way you all do your business? I know you're very involved in the community. So tell us a little bit about that.
We are, because we are veteran owned, family owned, and female owned. There's 4 owners. I'm one of 4.
Okay.
So we've had a golf tournament. We've had a few golf tournaments. One benefited rescues because we all have dogs too. I guess I've seen that before. Just, coincidentally, but a lot of our family members, and ours is definitely a rescue. Then another year, our golf tournament benefited a veterans group. So we try to not just have a golf tournament because we like to do that, but have it benefit a good cause. And then we were starting to work with a veterans association and planning events. And now we have to be a little more creative to find out how to do that. But in the meantime, we do contribute to Loud and Hunger Relief a few times a month.
Yes.
Being aware that, we're thankful that we're healthy. We're grateful that we were able to pivot and keep the business going, and that real estate has been moving right along. But, we do know that not everyone is in the same situation, and we have to be cognizant of that and do what we're able to.
Right.
Remedy that.
Absolutely. Ed, did you have a question?
Yeah, Donna, just thinking out loud about residential/commercial. So obviously there's a lot more transactions in the area in residential. They happen more frequently. People are generally more familiar with that. Stacy and I might run into clients on a regular basis that are first-time commercial buyers. So what are common questions you get from first-time commercial buyers about what's different? So if they're familiar with the typical home inspection, how much do they need to be prepared to invest in the property inspection for commercial, those kinds of things. What are the typical questions you guys see?
The costs, you're talking about costs?
Well, costs and differences. So, obviously costs would be one of them, but any others?
Cost is still based on the size and age of the property, which I don't think I made clear before. So that's a good distinction to make, because there are other methods to come up with prices that we've not followed. We've always been with that. The commercial team is smaller, but still, I think the turnaround time, the scheduling time should still be fairly quick. The reporting format is different. So Ed Donofrio is the lead commercial inspector, and he is going to probably spend, again, if it's a large building, he might be there the better part of a day. The HVAC systems are going to be on the roof of the building, so he's going to have access to that, and there's probably multiple units. Now it could be a 450 square foot, not 4, a 800 square foot condo.
Office condo, right, sure.
That's, that's very simple.
Right.
Still important, but, but I'm talking about a larger scale building that, again, there's several units, and Ed has to record the serial number, model number of each one after getting to the roof. He was in Winchester earlier this week on the very, very hot day. So he was on a membrane. He had a 30-foot metal ladder to climb. He could feel the heat through his shoes from the metal rungs, right? And then on the rooftop, he said, it was 115 degrees because it was a black membrane roof,
right.
The flat roof that's rubber.
You don't have that in houses, no.
Right, fortunately. He actually left the car running while he was up there.
I would.
Yeah, I had to go back to air conditioning, not just for me, but my phone, my iPad. They weren't going to function in that heat unless I took them off right away. But I'm not in. And so there's going to be time spent on site, and then the format, the reporting will take a little longer because Ed might have to do more research. So typically you're not going to get the report that day. The next, I think it's within 48 hours is his turnaround time. And then that phase 1 environmental, they allow like 3 weeks for that, because that's a whole nother study and interviewing people and looking up records from the authorities, the city, the county, the state, whatever's available. So that's a whole nother story. But so those are the main differences. Say.
And I mean, even in commercial, there's different types. So one of the things that amazes me about working with Ed personally is the general knowledge he has. But I do know that you have some cases where you farm out certain services to partners. So could you talk about that?
Ed can do all those things. We don't have to, and he wrote those things down. He can manage those. And that is a distinction that I should be better versed at because of his background with Naval Academy, and then his extensive training at York, Borg, Warner. I have to say that very slowly. And then just years and years of experience. He can handle those things, and he doesn't have to subcontract. Just like back to the residential side, if you have a crack in the foundation, typically an inspector is going to flag that and say, have it assessed by a structural engineer. We have that in-house by virtue of Ed's education and background. So you don't have to look any further than us. And if Ed needs to come out, there's no additional charge. Whereas if another company flags it, you, the realtor, have to go find, well, you have to make an appointment with Ed. And it's going to be another expense for your buyer, which is never welcome in the home buying process. And beyond that, we have, Ed is a structural engineer, but then there's a professional engineer that can approve like architectural drawings with a stamp, and we can have that certification added. We typically do, just so that your homeowner is covered or your commercial buyer is covered through and through.
Got it.
So that is a distinction, that we can cover all those various things. We don't have to hire out, even elevators.
Yep.
Right.
And sometimes you might need an air quality test, or where you send the data out and have somebody do lab
That's
work.
typically what we do. Yeah. We have an air bio pump, and so for residential or commercial, there's a control sample of air taken from the outdoors, so it can't be raining. And then for a home, it's going to be the lowest level, and then probably the living area. So that's the typical indoor air quality mold screening. But for a commercial building, you still have to have the control, but where you wanted them placed throughout the building, you'd probably have to have more. But yeah, so we offer those things. And again, for the commercial building, you'd probably need more radon machines.
Yeah.
If that was even a concern.
Okay. Tell us about your academy.
Donofrio Academy was delayed a little bit because of our current situation, because the idea of Donofrio Academy is that if a person wishes to become a home inspector, they can do a lot of training online, but there is a portion of the training that is required to be in person. And that's what we were offering.
Okay.
With our some of our team members on the staff here. So they're qualified, they've been certified, they're doing it. And so we went to DPOR, Department of Professional and Occupational, what's the R? Resources. Anyway, and they said, no, we'll waive that. And it can, no, I'm sorry. So no, we delayed, and it's going to happen in September. And we have a small class coming. So we reduced the size to make it work. But in addition to that, there's also a portion of that training that has to be in person. Just like when we hire an inspector, they study part of the day and then they go out on inspections another part of the day.
Okay.
So that shadowing is also a requirement for someone not to work for us, but just that wants to become a home inspector, however, for whomever, if they want to be on their own or whatever. They have to have that in-person training, and they have to have the shadowing experience hours. And we're providing that as a standalone, I mean, through the academy. But again, not that they're going to inspect your house, but they're going to watch and learn and shadow from the inspector in action. So that's pretty exciting to know that you know what you're doing well enough to teach others, right? That's
right. Absolutely.
And really know it.
At our company, at Keller Williams, you know, something that is said quite often is that you learn more by teaching. So sometimes you realize things, wow, maybe that isn't a good process, because when you're having a hard time, you know, explaining it or teaching it to someone else, you realize maybe that needs, you know, a facelift, right? You know, maybe that needs some attention. And so you do learn, and you learn from them because of the questions they ask. So it's always healthy. It's just another way to check yourself, right? To say, like, am I doing what I need to do to be the best?
You're very smart. I'm glad I know you. You are.
Well, it's my pleasure to know you and to know Ed. So we're so happy that you could join us today. Is there anything else you wanted to share?
Oh gosh, I think that is it.
Covered it, huh?
Unless
why don't you let people know exactly how to get in touch with you? What's the best thing to do? Your email, your website? What do people need to know?
It's all pretty simple. The website is www.donofrioinspections.com, and no one says the W's anymore. The email is a little tricky because of Donofrio being such a mouthful, but the word is schedule at Donofrio Inspections with an S on the end of it.com. Right. And the easy part is 703-771-8374 to get a voice. So. Right. And if you want to do something fun like this, you can call me directly, but that's another number.
Terrific.
571-213-9571.
Terrific. Thank you. Thank you so much. And we don't want to miss saying that we also have a great guide to start when you're beginning your real estate process. It's just a real estate guide and it's free. So if anyone's interested, you can text us at 703-795-3959 to get your guide. Or you can go to our Facebook page, our business Facebook page, which is the Martin DreamToHOME Team, and message us through that. And you know, all the other methods you can reach us as well. And I will be posting this over onto Facebook. So Donna, feel free to share it with your other clients and friends and family, and let them know that we're here too as a resource for residential and commercial. And again, it was a pleasure to be with you today. And thank you so much for being our guest.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. Hope to see you both.
Weekend, Donna.
We did too. Thank you, Donna.
Say hi to Ed. All right.
Well.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.